Good afternoon. My name is Suzanne Hall, and I've worked with Wicklow County Council now for a number of years. This is one of my part of my new roles. Okay, so the Local Enhancement Programme 2025. The background to this is the Local Enhancement Programme, which is shortened version is LEP, provides funding to support community groups across Ireland. The LEP is funded by the Department of Rural and Community Development, and it is administered by the LCDC, which is the Local Community Development Committee. The funding will help communities and community groups and committees to allow them to continue to provide services to people in the area, and in the process strengthen the bonds and that the communities together. Funding is also available for capital and current costs. Now, there's a lot of queries on this. Capital, I think the shortened version is something that is actually physical. Current would be like bills, running costs, and insurance and ESB, utility bills. And sorry, just want to get to the next one. So 7 million, the actual amount of money nationally was 7 million of the funding has allocated across the country for community groups. And this is inclusive of men's and women's sheds, okay? But Wicklow County Council have been allocated €199,044. Now, this is going to be broken down as follows: for capital funding, €170,609, and the current funding is 28,435. Okay, community groups can apply for both. Two separate application forms are required. There's a capital application form and a current one. But do please note, you see where the capital is 170,000 approximately. So there's actually more of a grant for the capital funding this year. And there's only 28,000 for current. Okay. Now, who can apply? Um, what happens is that who is eligible? It's any not-for-profit community or community or voluntary group can apply, including women's and men's shed. Who can't apply? So this is, I put it in reference for colour, is because it draws your attention. So commercial organisations and individuals are not eligible for funding. Now, sorry about this. How do I, sorry, just the screen, oh yeah, no, I was going. So the following provides is a non-exhaustive list of projects that could receive capital funding under the programs: development and renovation of community centres, accessibility improvements, community amenities, development of youth clubs or facilities, development of sports stroke recreational facilities, improvements to town parks and common areas and spaces, CCTV equipment, streetscaping, development of play and recreational spaces, improving energy and efficiency of community facilities to reduce the costs. Okay. Energy costs, so that's electrical costs, refuse heating charge are current. Okay, so I've denoted any of the in my slides in blue for current. So if you want to do a quick glance through it, okay. So operating costs, which is rental, lease, insurance bills, that's current funding only. Website maintenance, that's current funding only. Auditing and accountancy fees, current funding only. Okay. To ensure the appropriate monitoring and governance, the department is stating that Wicklow County operating running costs relate to the period from the 1st of June 24 to the 30th of May 2025. Just be mindful of that period, okay? Now, the following expenses are not eligible for funding, okay, which is private or commercial operations, costs which are being paid by another funder or department, purchase of lands or building, project management fees, feasibility studies, legal fees, employment costs, projects that are not in keeping with the ethos of the programme. So just be mindful of that. I think that's quite self-explanatory. If anybody has any queries, you can raise it later with us. Now, tax requirements. Now, this is all part of internal audit as well. The applicant group organisation doesn't have to be registered for tax purposes. But if an applicant group or organisation is registered for tax purposes, they must be tax compliant in line with the tax clearance procedures, which came into effect in January 16. And the tax clearance access number and tax reference number must be submitted for verification purposes. Okay, that's actually our financial department require those kind of information. Okay, but I'm not sure if there's several organizations. I don't think there'll probably very few that are actually registered for tax, but I may be stand to be corrected. Okay, now the requirements. Statutory consents. Applicants must ensure that all necessary statutory permissions or consents have been obtained before any works commence. This is not confined to planning permission. So, if you feel that you are that you fall under any of those, that they need to be compliant, okay? And then insurance, written evidence of valid insurance policy may be required uh, where relevant during the application's review process. There was a query there earlier this morning and about residents association, but I think residents association, they should have insurance policy, but I will stand to be corrected. Now, tips for the capital funding. In the application form, we would ask that you be as specific as possible. Say 100 footballs, a power washer, 30 trowels, a sewing machine, 12 plastic storage containers, repairs for lighting. That would be specific, but not just to have a general one, sports gear, gardening tools, sewing equipment. So this is where the quotes come in. Um, because I think everybody knows that if you're looking for any quotes for yourself, you would be looking for them for a specific item. You must submit 3 quotes for each item, e.g. 3 quotes for football, 3 quotes for sewing, oh sorry, I have a typo there, machine, and 3 independent suppliers to ensure compliance with the terms of the funding. Screenshots are accepted, so that may help some of the applicants. Now, tips for current funding. To ensure appropriate monitoring and governance, the department is stating only operating costs relate to the period below, which is the 1st of June 24 to the 30th of May. That was referred to in a previous slide. Please submit a previous bill stroke invoice as supporting documentation as to how you are applying for NB. You can apply for partial funding of a larger bill. So in other words, if the bill was for 270 euro, you can apply for the full amount of 270, or you can look for the partial amount of 150. But we would ask you to submit invoices in the past as supporting documentation. Now, drawing down of the fund, approved for funding by the DRCD. That should be around Q2 of 2025, late March, early April. Notification of approval will be given to you either by email or letter. Acceptance of funding via email. If not accepted, received, your funds will be reallocated. So it's important to keep an eye on your emails and your letters during this period. if you've not received a payment from Wicklow County Council before, a physical setup form will be required from you in order to set you up as a supplier in our accounts system. But we will be dealing with you and sending out the forms for submission. I'm afraid this is necessary because each individual supplier has to be set up in our accounts department. And but we'll go through that later with you when you have been granted acceptance, approval for your funding. So capital funding, you will receive funding in advance and be required to submit a receipt and a photo of the item uh, in the premises, not a screenshot of the item in the quote by the deadline. Invoices will not be accepted as proof of purchase. So it's a receipt that will be required. Current funding, once you have received approval, please submit your bill and proof of payment, bank screenshot. Funding will only be issued after receipt of bill and payment proof. Now, drawdown. Approved for funding by the DRC in Q2, late March, early April. Acceptance, I think we've gone through this before. Acceptance of funding, if not accepted, receive the time funding. Sorry about this. Now, the key deadlines, okay? I would really ask if people had their applications ready, if they wouldn't mind submitting them, and not just to leave it up to the Friday, the 7th of March. The 4 p.m. is the closing date. The staff are actually or the team are going through the applications currently and reverting back if there's any outstanding documents. And that gives everybody plenty of time to submit their documents and to have review their application. So I hope that would be both advantageous to both the office here and also to the applicants. Now, late April, early May, approval for projects given. Now, this is subject to the press release from the department, the DRCD, and we can't move until that has been, you know, subject to that press release. Okay, so even though we think that they're coming in April or May, it mightn't come till June, but it's subject to that departmental release. Late April, early May, approved notifications for project given, subject to the above press release. Okay. Now, for capital, June, the funds will be sent to the bank account. In July to September, funds should be spent. Earlier October, receipts and photos returned. So just keep an eye on those dates, especially when there's going to be more funding actually allocated for the capital side. Now, current return your bills and invoices with proof of purchase, June/July. Funds will be then sent to your bank account. Okay. And so once again, the closing date is at 4 p.m. on Friday, the 7th of March. And contact details are lep@wicklowcoco.ie. And I think maybe people have already been in contact with LEP, and hopefully that we've guided you through your applications to date. Okay.